Hello and welcome to Assemblies of the World with me, Ana Isabel. And I am very happy because my guest today is none other than John Gilbert, who is one of the founders of the Community Assemblies of the British Isles. Welcome, John.
Hi Anna, I'm
It,
I'm I'm here and I haven't put any jokes today, so I'm sorry.
well, that's all right. I'm sure we'll find a way of bringing some levity to a very important and serious subject, which is, of course, our beloved Community Assembly of the British Isles. And it has been a long time since we've had one of our chats. And I thought it was time because so much has happened that it's good to have a little update. So that is really the essential question of the day is where do you feel that Community Assembly of the British Isles is at this moment in time in terms of its development?
Right on target. The problem that we have is that building a parallel society is a very slow progress. You can't just suddenly rush in and tell everybody to do this or that and then find out that the authorities, those who say they're the authorities anyway, land on your doorstep and start arresting people. No, we have to move carefully. And that's one of the problems that we do have is people perceive us as moving slowly. And I've had a few people, even today, people are saying that the perception is that we move too slowly. I don't think there is. If you're going to build something with a strong foundation, you have to get those foundations in place first. And we have done that. And most people that tuned into the last chat that we had didn't know about the message that we had to build 222 community assemblies. And I'll be perfectly frank with you, I couldn't think how we could possibly do it, because 220, we were at the time we were about 150, I think, community assemblies, and we had to get to 222 in 4 months. That was working out just too many for us to do, but we did it with 2 weeks to spare. So I think it was an exercise in people pulling together.
Yes, and I think, for those who are new to the organization, it's the whole point of building assemblies is that if you imagine that the Community Assemblies of the British Isles is a network, a communication network, every assembly is a node on that network. And this is not a centralized organization in the slightest, but what it is about creating a foundation that's going to allow people to have a choice as to how they want to live their lives, whether they want to be in a system that's increasingly dictatorial, or whether they want to live a life that's more authentic to themselves and to do so in harmony with others and learning from others and becoming much more independent while it's at the same time integrated, plugged into an information network, if we can put it like that. So the reason why we need a lot of assemblies is because the more assemblies we have, the more nodes we have. And that is a foundation on which we stand. It's not the only thing that's a foundation, but it is the key, because we need that network to be in place. So now we've achieved that number. And as I said, it's one of the key ingredients for the foundation. What are the other parts of the foundation, and where are we with those?
The biggest part that, or the biggest problem that we have is with people realizing that they have to make decisions, not us. And we're going through another voting session at the moment because we have expressed an interest with joining forces with Tess Laurie and her World Council for Health. You notice I got it right this time.
Hooray.
We had to vote on that because it's a step that we haven't done before. If we have permission to do certain things, then yes, we can go ahead and do them. But in this particular instance, it was diverse from what we'd done before. We had to take a vote on that, and we're going through that voting process at the moment. But it is taking a lot of people trying to cajole members into making a vote or taking a vote. And under our system, if you don't vote, you're actually allocated a vote because you have to vote. So if people decide not to vote, they're allocated a no vote, which means you can lose the vote.
This is a tricky one because on the one hand, many of our members do not wish to vote in the systems elections, and they've kind of transferred that suspicion about voting into this context. And I think we need to make it clear that this is different. This is, if we are stepping outside of a system that we feel is undemocratic because of the notion that votes might not count because of the system, the way it's organized, the electoral system with the seats, etc., and MPs and representation. This is not about that. This is about people actually having a direct say in whether they want something or not. And I think also there are those who have forgotten about the importance in participating. So the reason, I would just remind everyone that the reason that the world is in the mess it's in is because so many of us abdicated our civic responsibilities, if I can put it like that, and holding people to account and making sure that things were as they should be, to the point where we have got councils who do consultations nobody ever sees or hears about policies that they want to implement. And then, by the way, where we're saying if you don't vote, it's automatically a no. They go, well, you're not voting, it's automatically a yes, and therefore we are going to close roads, etc., and bring in LTNs. So what we're saying here is, if you want to create a new society, it means you have to have a fresh attitude, and the fresh attitude is, I will participate. And this is where the vote is asking your permission to do something. And if you don't vote, well, clearly it means that you're not participating, and therefore it's a tantamount to a no, because you haven't said you want it. So this is an important distinction that we need to make.
I hope those who are listening to that have been well told off.
It's not, I don't think it's a telling off. It's a point of fact. It's a point of fact. The reason we're having to create an alternative society is because the majority of us are very guilty of just not participating. And I am one of those people. I just trusted that the system was going to look after me. Yes, those good old days of being naive. So we can't fall into that trap again. And at the same time, we can't be complaining that the existing electoral system in the existing system is undemocratic because we can't have a direct say of yay or nay on something. And then we're given the opportunity to say yay or nay in the very new system we're wanting to create, and we ignore that. So it's a point of fact, and I think we need to be aware of what we're doing and understand that if we want to create something new, it means our behavior has to change and we have to participate.
Yeah, there were. Okay, I thought it very funny at first, but in actual fact, it was really quite serious because I had several people, probably about a dozen or more people, who suggested that instead of allocating a no vote for those people who didn't vote, we should allocate a yes vote, which encourages people not to vote. So I thought, well, wait a minute, isn't that what we're doing already? We're doing that now. We're not voting. So they're taking our votes and saying, oh, well, we'll just allocate a yes vote to it.
And that's exactly what's happened. I mean, there's been several instances I can think of. I think one particular in Bath where the council were wanting to introduce LTNs that were going to seriously inconvenience people. And the consultation they held was it was extremely negligible. And then they just assumed that because there were no objections, they could go ahead. Well, that's tantamount to saying if you don't vote, it's a yes, and we're going to push through whatever we want. So obviously, the Community Assembly of the British Isles, there's that natural law, which means that there has to be a nobility to the way that things are conducted. And that nobility means that if we're wanting to do something, we have to consult. And if people don't engage, then obviously whatever it is that's being suggested has not captured their imaginations enough for them to want to participate, which means no.
That's it. Sue had a very good idea when she put out the vote in Devon. She actually turned around to them and said, look, we don't care which way you vote as long as you vote.
And that's the issue.
Yeah.
It's exactly that. It's not about winning or losing the vote. It's a proposal. It's an idea. It's being floated to the members. And what really counts is the participation. If it's accepted, that's a bonus. But it's the participation. It's knowing that the members are engaged that matters.
It's not a bonus if it's a proposal is accepted, because we may have got it wrong. So it may be the members that have got it right, and therefore we put where we should be.
Yeah.
I much prefer to be wrong, but everybody tell me that I'm wrong. And I can apologize and say, look, I'm sorry, I got that one wrong. There's no shame in being wrong. It's another learning process.
Yeah. Okay, so foundation number one, we need those nodes on the communication network. That's number one. We need those assemblies being created. Number two, we need active participating members who, and part of that is participating in the voting when a proposal is being floated for them. So what's number three?
Number three, well, okay, we've got some good things actually happening here at the moment, and that people who decided to go their own way at one time are now starting to come back again, so they can see things happening. And I'm hoping that we are getting it right because of it. And got people on their own way, and hasn't worked. We can't really say to them, well, tough, you made your bed, now go lie on it. No, that's not how we work. It's like the prodigal son coming back again, isn't it? We need to welcome them back. And we've just had two groups actually, one in Northern Ireland. And Northern Ireland is starting to set up its assemblies again. We had over 30 assemblies at one time. they all went a different route, and now they're starting to reform and set up again. So that's one. And we had another group who went a different way, and we've now put them in charge of the group that we had there, with the agreement of the facilitators who were there holding the fort for us, and they've taken up other jobs. So we've bought them. We've, as far as them, nothing has actually happened. Oh, right.
Yeah, the sound went a little bit funny there. Would you like to say that again?
All right. Okay. We had a group in the south of England who came, who expressed an interest in becoming a community assembly again, and yeah, we welcome them back, but we have changed it around so that they are now in charge of full group, and the people that were holding the ground for us, holding the spiritual ground, if you like, have now moved over into other jobs and are forming other community assemblies. But that was all by agreement, and there was no malice there. It was great talk that we had between all of us. It was wonderful.
I think we're back to the foundation of the community assemblies is connection and people. It's in the name. Community and assembly, it's in the name. This is the foundation on which it is built, which is why there is this emphasis on creating these nodes in the network. And then it's about knitting those nodes so that everyone is working together. And it seems that is that's getting more solid.
Yeah, we've got a long way to go because there's still a lot of people that are in fear of legislation, basically. The governments can change this at a moment's notice, so they can change that, and we've got a new law. No, we haven't got any laws. Right back in the early days, I suppose, back prior to the 1700s, those utterances coming out of Westminster were considered to be guidance only, and that Parliament hoped that the people would follow it. Now it's changed to law. Well, in a way, it sort of is, because if you think about it, if we've got rules and people don't follow those rules, then they're not with us. So so if you're living in a community and that community has got rules and you don't want to obey those rules, then really you should find another community that has the rules that you want to obey, not stay in the community that you're in at the moment and cause a lot of problems, because that doesn't help anybody. So in a way, it becomes a law, but not a law as officially a law. It's an agreement that you will abide by your community's rules.
And in effect, that is exactly what the Community Assembly of the British Isles is doing, is saying, well, actually, we're not too keen on the way that you're doing things. Thank you very much. We're not going to cause any problems for you, but we're going to just bow out and create our own. Is that okay? Actually, it is okay because you can't say otherwise. So goodbye. Here we are creating something new.
It takes a long time, but we will get there eventually. We are still creating new community assemblies now. We've got more in the wings waiting to come forward, but we're not in this almighty rush anymore now. But when we did create that 222, the very next morning that we created that 222, it was a wave of energy went through the whole organization. Everybody was going absolutely mad. I think I had the whole day where there wasn't a moment between phone calls, and I was having to limit the time I was spending on the phone so that I could pick up on other people. And whenever I had 5 minutes, there was always a queue of people that had been waiting to get through to me. absolutely mad.
One of the criticisms that I hear leveled at Community Assembly of the British Isles is this is, you know, this is all talk and actually not a lot happens. And I always wonder, well, what do you mean by that? What are you expecting? You know, an army to storm, you know, that's just absurd. Um, so what I feel is that what we're offering very often in people's minds is a concept, and they either understand the concept or they don't. So maybe it would be good for those who are either new or who are only just coming across the Community Assembly British Isles for the first time. What is the concept? What is it that members are trying to do? Or better way of putting it, what is it that members are working to achieve, working to build?
We're working to build something which is fair to everyone, gives everybody a voice. It's never going to be, that everybody's going to be in absolute agreement. We don't want everybody to be in absolute agreement. So there has to be a voice where people can say what they feel and say what they think. I keep having conversations with people who are convinced that they should deregister their car from DVLA, for instance, because they want to take their car back. Oh, sorry, did you buy the car in the first place? Have you got a receipt for it? Is that car yours? Yes, it is. Nobody else has taken it away from you. The only thing that somebody else has got is a registration plate, which you are using. It has nothing to do with the car. So there are a lot of people who are looking at things that have gone before, that have been put about, that haven't been well thought out. But there's nothing wrong with using the system. Some of the system is okay. Not a lot, but some of it is. So we're trying at the moment to find ways of cooperating, which mean that we get what we want, which is the ability to make our own decisions, but that don't cause harm to those people who prefer to stay in the system as it is. Because under natural law, we're not allowed to cause harm. So if we start telling people to start wearing flip-flops during the winter, going to be a lot of frozen toes. So we can't force our beliefs onto other people, is basically what it is, and they can't force their beliefs onto us. That doesn't work. And it doesn't work in either system, either their system or ours. So there has to be a degree of cooperation. So we have to find something which is going to work for us, but doesn't hinder other people in, they would rather sit there and all day long paying other people.
Okay, so we've got the idea. This is a concept of collaboration whereby we are working towards being independent of the system. It's going to take time. This is a transition period, obviously. And so a degree of acceptance of some parts of the system that are not harmful to us is sensible. So one of the things that you also have worked on is the legal status as regards our relationship with the state, the system as we know it. So tell us about how you have created this umbrella under which we can stand and what gives us the right to do so in terms of ancient laws and customs.
we had to dig back a long way. And yes, we do have ancient laws and customs that still hold good. They've never been taken out of the system. A lot of people will talk about the 1215, Magna Carta 1215, and then they go on to say that about the Magna Carta 1225. They are still there. I can never understand how they managed to have two Magna Cartas in the space of 10 minutes. Sorry. If you go back even further still, back to the time of, even pre-Roman time, there were very good communities, good systems in place back pre-Roman times. And there are mentions of it, of families of people were all working together, working as for the good of the communities. And this came from people who were traveling from Europe over to the British Isles. Those systems were in place. Some of them were feudal, but there were also democratic ones as well, all in place at that time. So if you go back and see how they were doing things, we don't have to make the same mistake twice. So we can use those systems. Now, when it came to the way that jurisdictions are handed out, for instance, and people keep saying to me, why have we got to have 300 people? If you get 300 people standing shoulder to shoulder and working with each other, oh boy, that takes a lot of work to get that to happen. You can go online and have 300 people join up in a day. To get 300 people to come to meetings and actually do something is a big ask. So when you get to 300 people, it's worth something, and it's worth a lot. And we had, there was a time when if you could put 300 people together in a region or a shire or a set, the reward for that was that you could take back some of your own responsibility. You could have that, and one of those was that you could have your own jurisdiction, which means that you would have your own constables and you'd have your own courts. So we've gone with that one. If you get to 600 people, which is a big ask, then you can declare yourself a territory, and you can have even more say in what you're doing locally. That's one of the things that we do take on board. Another is that no one can place an obligation on you apart from God or the Creator or whoever you want to call him or her or it. I can never quite work out. The point there is that a man shouldn't be able to place or an obligation on somebody without their consent. Now, when we talk about consent, if a law is made in a court by a jury, then that is consent, unless it comes about that that law was wrong, didn't work, in which case it can be taken out again. But that's a process for which we can create laws. But if you've got our Boy Scouts again, sitting in Westminster, creating tens of thousands of pieces of legislation, we haven't had any say in that. Not really, even though we voted for it. And I voted. I believed in the system. I thought it worked. We need to bring that back and say, look, I'm sorry, but there is plenty of evidence within our system, within our histories, that say, no, you can't do this. There's only one ruler that can put obligation onto us, and that is not an earthly ruler. We have to have our say. We have to have our permission.
It's a fundamental because it basically means that the premise of law and custom in these islands is one of equality and equity. And it really is fundamental. So, okay, so you've established then that for that reason, we have the right to step away and say, no, thank you, we're going to do something different. We're not going to disrupt you or do anything untoward, but we are saying, no, thank you. And so this is, I know that you've worked very hard to establish that as part of the foundation on which the Community Assembly British Isles actually stands. Okay, so that's good, and we can see what the foundations are and the progress that's been made in creating that. Have I missed anything?
There is one thing which is very important to us within the community assemblies, and we ask our people when they're recruiting others that they don't actually tell them what the benefits are. It sounds contradictory, but we want people to come into the community assemblies with their hearts, not because they're going to get something out of it, but because they can give something to it. So what's that saying again? Think not what you can do, what your country can do for you, but think what you can do for your country. And that is a fundamental of what we do. So we do ask people not to say how we can help them. We ask people to come in with an open heart and pick up the ethics of the whole community assembly before they start looking at the benefits.
Because there are benefits that are more concrete than what we've outlined so far.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that I would say, use your imaginations. What is the benefit of creating a community and the exchange of ideas, the exchange of knowledge, the exchange of experience, the exchange of services that can be there when you have people with different skills and different experience all working together and so on. And this is the hubs that exist for the exchange of information and the support for the communities are just huge. But again, it's like you've just said, those hubs are a product of people coming in with their hearts and saying, well, what have I got that I can offer? And the issue for a lot of people is it's difficult to think that way because either they haven't got the confidence or they feel they haven't got the time. Some people think, oh, I can't offer anything. But you know what? Just coming to a meeting and offering a smile sometimes is really uplifting to somebody sitting next to you. And that's a good thing. And as regards time, it shouldn't take up a huge amount of your time because what you're offering is something that you're already doing. It's just now you're offering it. If you're a keen gardener and you come to meetings and suddenly people are asking you for advice on how to grow potatoes, this isn't taking up any more of your time, but you're offering your experience and your knowledge. So I think we need to be a little bit more imaginative ourselves in terms of thinking about what contribution actually means. Because I think we are because we're so stressed for various reasons, we don't feel like we have anything left to give. And what I've discovered is that actually I can give a lot more than I thought I could, just by doing more of what I'm already doing. That's it. That's that simplicity. Okay, so come in with your hearts and discover all the amazing things that that are happening, and you'll find that there's something that you can give too, which is it's a lovely feeling. What is that saying? It's better to give than to receive. I think we've kind of forgotten that because we feel so beleaguered. So this is where we're at. Where are we going, John? What's the vision for the future?
More of benefits to the people themselves, because they are giving something, they should get something back. But we had one instance where we actually said what we were going to do and it got stopped. So we don't tend to give out stuff like that now. But the vision for the future is to get more information in, get more people, right, like Northern Ireland coming back in again, getting so strong that it's very difficult for to be interrupted in where we're going, because we are really now, from this time last year, we have doubled our size, and that now has meant that we are, well, actually more than doubled our size, haven't we? We've now joined up with the World Community for Health. So the World Council for Health, and you know, I think, to be honest with you, that is going to benefit both of us, because the size of what we can do now, the amount of units or countries that the World Council for Health is operating in is vast with our own, and so gives us a lot more room for expansion. That website, the amount of people that are following on that website now and following what we're doing, I couldn't believe how many people were actually getting it through there now. But it's free. We're putting everything free on there, and this is ideas that people can take. So where are we going to go from here? Boringly, much of the same, but we're just going to expand on it.
I think, what I feel, and and you're very focused on the foundation, and basically what you're saying is the future means creating a very solid foundation, building on that foundation, making it more solid. And I've been talking about that web, that network, and maybe really what we're saying is creating links, making sure that the links are stronger than they've ever been before. So it's strengthening the links, and hopefully also collaborating with others, so that members can feel the benefit. And I think that strong communities, and community is a kind of buzzword at the minute. Everybody's talking about the need to have community. And so the fact of the matter is that the stronger a community is, the more interaction, the more beneficial it is for the health and well-being of its members. So if that's the vision, then that's a good vision to have.
We're getting a lot of criticism, and that means that we're doing something right. The amount of people that are saying that we are a cult, yeah, I know. You wouldn't believe how many people say, but people are saying you're a cult.
Okay, so for anybody out there who doesn't know what a cult actually means, I can, as a hypnotherapist, bring a little bit of light into that. What a cult is a closed system whereby individuals are isolated, and various pressures are placed upon them so that they are totally alone, and therefore more easily manipulated. In other words, a cult is a very centralized system. And what we're looking at here is something that is a totally decentralized system in which people come and go and collaborate, and the more the merrier. That is the antithesis of a cult. I just thought I'd want to make that very clear. Free will is very much not part of the cult system. It is, however, completely and utterly the modus operandi of a decentralized system, such as what is being offered by the Community Assembly of the British Isles.
You put that much better than I did.
I think let's just, get our terminology straight.
Oh, another one that'll make you laugh is communitarianism. It stifles all development.
Yes. And you know what? I can sympathize, because I think this is the problem with the word community, is that it's been co-opted and corrupted and abused by those in power who want to sell communism by any other name. But that is a completely different thing to actually how a community works. So it's, I understand it, and I also can feel nervous about the term, but this is different because this is not about, again, think about communism, centralized system. Centralized system dictating everything that happens across the country. This is different because actually it's communities coming together and deciding what they want for themselves. So yes, sometimes there's going to be friction between members because different people will have different visions or different ideas, but that's the art of learning to collaborate, is to be able to negotiate and get beyond the differences and find the common ground, and then being able to take that and create something. And that's a challenge that we have as human beings that's facing us right at this moment. We need to really learn how to do that at a time when our trust is at an all-time low. A trust in the system that we relied on, trust in humanity itself. So we need to, it actually takes courage now to move forward in this way.
People have got to learn that in order to be able to allow people to flourish, they've also got to be allowed to make mistakes. A mistake is just another way of learning. So you've got to have that ability to give other people the chance to do something, even if they do make a mistake. You can't put them down for that, because all you can do is say, okay, we've all learned something about that one, then let's move on.
Yeah, and I think, again, one of the things that has happened in the last few decades is that we've been conditioned into a situation of, for lack of a better way of putting it, a blame culture. And that's aggravated by the fact that trust has been so very badly abused by those who have been deemed to have more power than everybody else. So I think we need to remember that we give power, and that we can also reject that concept of power over us, and that there is a difference between somebody abusing power to the extent that power is being abused by certain individuals and somebody just getting something wrong. There is a difference. And I think we've become so hypersensitive that we're forgetting that there is a difference, and we've become very unforgiving.
Yeah. It's not a matter of forgiving people, it's a matter of allowing them to do what comes naturally to them. And if we can promote that again, if we can get that working again, then we will move ahead much more quickly. So at the moment, nothing's going anywhere. There's a lot of development going on, but it's all sort of mechanical. It's not giving spiritual development, and spiritual development is very important. It has to go hand in hand with all other development that we're working on at the moment.
And I think that's the key, to what you were saying there, is the word flourish. It's the desire to help everyone to flourish. And that comes back to what I was saying, everybody has something to contribute. And being able to value that in others is hugely important. So I think that's a beautiful vision on which to end, and to say that everything that is happening now is about bringing people together to help them to flourish individually and in collaboration as well.
Yes. Okay. So I can't wind you up anymore now. You're going to stop me now, yeah?
I'm going to say thank you very much for your time, because you are absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, the busiest person I know. So for you to take the time to do this today is a real treat. Thank you very much, John.
That's a lovely way of saying, folks, get back to work now and get on with it.
Well, in the spirit of free will, you can make of it what you will. And thank you all for watching. If you are not already a member of the Community Assembly of the British Isles, you will find a link in the description box for you to join and take part in the most exciting project that I have ever come across, the creation of a much better and equitable world. Until next time, goodbye.